York and Poi, the writers of KinnPorsche, have written the love story of Vegas and Pete beautifully well, that those that have read the novel ship them more than the main couple Kinn and Porsche. But before I get into the details of the video, let me thank Beyond Cloud for retaining the name Vegas as given in the novel, which was changed by the previous production company to my utter disappointment. And I'm glad that the makers of KinnPorsche and the authors are doing an excellent job in giving us a brilliant rendition. Most of the bodyguards in the storyline belong to the major family, and not much is mentioned about the minor family. And even in the novel, the bodyguards of Kun and Kinn gets major focus because Kinn doesn't have any bodyguard either in the fiction or the drama. And as the story progresses, once Vegas and Pete start dating, Pete gets teased by everyone calling Vegas his husband. In fact, Macau adores Pete since he brings a huge positive influence in the lives of the brothers of the minor family. And this irritates Kun since he feels like he's lost Pete to Vegas and Macau, and he starts to dislike them even more. Major family and minor family primarily hate each other because it's all about a show of wealth, power and influence. And after Gun's death, who is Khan in the novel, Gun Theerapanyakul chooses Porsche to head the minor family in the absence of Vegas, who slips into a coma. And this comes as a shock to many. But Khan trusts Porsche and believes that he's equally competent as Kinn, who will be handling the affairs of the major family after taking over the responsibilities from his father. Throughout the story, there is no comparison between the head of the major family and the minor family per se. Because while Gun Theerapanyakul loves and adores his kids, despite how crazy and eccentric they are, Gun Theerapanyakul never cared for his sons and treats them as property. In fact, constant comparisons would be made between Kinn and Vegas, since they are of the same age, that unknowingly Vegas started to hate Kinn for the very same reason. Although throughout the story, Vegas is shown as someone cunning, manipulative and selfish, I pity him for living a loveless life until Pete comes along, bringing his charm and charisma. Not that I'm in support of anything that he does to torture Pete, but as the story progresses further, showing us who Vegas is, you will fall in love with him because he is the anti-hero of the story. He is bitter, lonely and self-loathing because he was never given an option to have an opinion of his own. Being with Pete makes him a better person, where he gets proper character development. And as their affair begins, the way he cares and respects Pete is much easier in comparison with that of Kinn towards Porsche. Now, Pete, despite not being that educated, is so good at his job that even though he's the head bodyguard of Kun, Kinn entrusts him with the work of spying on Vegas, since Kinn cannot take the risk of letting Porsche do it. And though Pete as a character is someone used to violence as a skilled fighter, he is also a man who has a moral code. He has always been a great friend and a guide, especially to Porsche, who was new to this whole world of the mafia. In fact, when Kinn and Porsche would not see eye to eye and refuse to understand each other, Pete is the one that bridged the gap between the two. Although initially in the story, it's shown that Vegas wanted to break Kinn and Porsche apart, making us believe that he has feeling for Porsche, actually the real reason is just his deep hatred for Kinn and how far his father brainwashed him against the major family. Vegas is someone who'd show outright that he does not like Kinn at all, and that's the reason Kinn always had a bad feeling about Vegas and his family, fearing that they'd surely do something to hurt his. That's the reason he instructs Pete to follow Vegas and get all possible evidence against the minor family. And Pete truly does his best as an informer, collecting all possible data against the minor family and sends the same to Kinn. It's only when he barges into Vegas' house one day that he gets caught. In fact, when the chapters relating to Vegas and Pete were published online, there are a lot of readers that did not like their part and strongly objected to it by tweeting against the same to the writers. But the authors have already informed the audience that not only the novel contains the gory part and that the series has made several changes to the actual storyline. Yes, the initial chapters involving Vegas and Pete have a lot of mature content in them involving BDSM as well. Frankly, I did not enjoy it one bit at all, because the way Vegas treats Pete was inhuman and downright unacceptable. And since Pete gets locked up inside the minor family's home for a long time, many people in the major family, including Kun and Kinn, assumed that he might have gone to his home back in southern Thailand after finishing his job. Because no matter how much they tried contacting him, they just could not trace Pete. Now, it's during this time that Pete understands how Vegas and Macau were treated badly by their father. Although Pete is no innocent, given that he's one of the best bodyguards of the major Theerapanyakul family, the fact that he forges a close bond with Vegas, doing everything that any dutiful lover would do, is what impresses Vegas the most, and he falls head over heels for Pete. Since Pete belonged to the group of bodyguards protecting Cancun, they were all considered childish and crazy, given that they had no other job than watching melodramas and singing karaoke with their boss. And when Pete is held captive by Vegas, he applies the same logic that is shown in melodramas and tries to be good to Vegas, hoping that he would eventually let him free. But what both Pete and Vegas don't realize is that this proximity between the two, which is born out of toxicity, eventually blossoms into love. Knowingly or unknowingly, Vegas becomes so attached and caring to Pete that sometimes Pete finds it hilarious and too hard to digest. Given the stark difference in their economic and social status, Pete feels insecure in their relationship even after they start dating. And given how Vegas was as a person before he changed himself for Pete, many within the family doubt if Vegas has indeed changed or if it's all a facade. But honestly guys, Vegas and Pete's love story is more intriguing and interesting because what starts with a dark plot eventually turns into rainbows and unicorns. Every time I reread the novel, I feel very nostalgic reminiscing about how Vegas and Pete's love story has come a long way. They are the second lead couple in the story, but take the cake, the baker, and the bakery in the department of romance. And thanks to the authors for giving them due importance, just like the main lead couple. Later on, when Vegas goes into a coma during the battle between the major and the minor family, it is discovered during the time of his homophobic father's death that the man has fathered another child out of wedlock. So Pete is the one taking responsibility for the child because the poor mother of the baby runs out of fear. While Porsche is handling all the affairs of the minor family as the leader, Pete looks after the well-being of Vegas, Macau, and their baby brother Venice, and eventually convinces Vegas to adopt the baby, who is now a part of the Theerapanyakul family. I won't be wrong if I say that Gun Theerapanyakul is perhaps the most horrible character ever written in the BL history. There's nothing this character has ever done right even by mistake in the story. And throughout the novel, until he dies, he shows no remorse or regret for anything that he has done in his life, very much unlike Gun Theerapanyakul, his own elder brother and the Mafia Lord. That's the reason Pete confesses to Con about his liking for Vegas and requests him to be allowed to take care of the man who was always brainwashed by his father to hate the major family. Pete comes from a very humble background and is born and raised in the southern part of Thailand, where his grandparents live. And he takes Vegas, Macau, and Venice to his grandparents' house, who, despite not being as wealthy as the Theerapanyakuls, are very warm and welcoming towards the boys. And since they are very fond of their grandchild Pete, they accept his relationship with Vegas and bless them as well. I have been repeating right since the beginning that the makers have decided to make changes in the rendition after having several discussions with the authors. So, as promised, the audience wasn't given anything dark or gory content to consume and enjoy. And for sure they'll follow the best professional standards for Season 2 as well. So far, the novel covers KinnPorsche, VegasPete, and some minor parts of KinnPorsche. And there's also a love interest of Gun Theerapanyakul, but the authors have left us with a cliffhanger. But since the adaptation has gone through several significant changes to the story and given an impressive character arc to not just the romantic couples, but the supporting personalities too, it will be very interesting to see how they will cover the storyline of the second and the third lead couple and surprise us by giving Kun No a romantic pair in the series too. And last but not least, nobody knows what will be the title of Season 2 if Vegas and Pete are the main leads in the story. The makers perhaps may not risk changing the title since KinnPorsche has become a brand in itself. But I bet nobody would complain if it's called VegasPete the series in the spin-off. Thank you so much guys for listening to me so very patiently. Hope you enjoyed the video. Lots more awesome BL content coming up, so stay tuned for more. By the way, this is my original voice and not that of a robot.